Is it okay to adjust, or he's gonna probably be up there? So I can. Oh, okay. So. Good evening. We are so thrilled that you are in our actual office space tonight. So we're just glad that you're with us. And we have our very special guest, Justin Giudici, CEO of the Telos Foundation, with us tonight. It's going to be a great night. But before we get started, we have some super exciting news to share with you. EOS Detroit is in the midst of a rebrand, and we are now called Detroit Ledger Technologies. DLT. DLT also stands for Distributed Ledger Technology, which blockchain is a form of, so it's kind of a double meaning there. You might ask why the rebrand and why right now? Because the company that began as a small block producer on the EOS Network has now grown into a broader and farther reaching organization. So before we bring Justin up, I'm going to have Adam Zintarski, our CEO, give you a sneak peek of what's in store for our company. Immediately following Adam, we'll have Justin and get down to business with his presentation, and then we'll do a brief tutorial and then open the floor for questions and answers. I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself tonight, and please ask anything, and we're excited. We're also going to ask you to share us on your social media pages, and we have them all: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So please share us, and if you like and share, you'll get some free gifts that we have up here. And also, I'd like to also tell you about our new podcast that just launched this past Friday. It's called The Distributed Show with our very own Jerry Rucker, also known as Crypto Blood. So make sure you check that out on our YouTube channel. We drop a new show every Friday. So look forward to that. Thank you so much, and we'll have Adam come up now.
Thanks, April. So most of you know, EOS Detroit was started in 2018. Since then, we've come a really long way. We don't just support the EOS network. We also support, of course, Telos, which we're going to be talking today, and a number of other networks. So we felt like the EOS Detroit name didn't, properly reflect, where our company is even at today and where it's going to be going. We have a number of different projects in the work, one of which is Facings, which my co-founder, EOS Detroit, we incubated it and spun it out, and now he runs it as a subsidiary company that's raising its seed round of capital, so we're very happy about that. So we have a subsidiary that mints NFTs now. We're also looking to do more capital investment type of activities. So we felt that Detroit Ledger Technologies really reflects where our company is going to be going here in the near future as well too. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up Justin. He's from the Telos Foundation. You're the CEO technically of the Telos Foundation, executive director. So everybody give a round of applause for Justin.
Cool. Nice to be here, guys. Yeah, I'm from Telos. Next slide. We're a layer 1 blockchain technology. So that's cool. Yeah. Next one's good. Sorry about that. Yeah, we're a high-speed layer 1 blockchain technology. I guess you could compare us to something like Ethereum. You run smart contracts on our network. The only difference is we're much faster at doing it. So we're 3 years old at the moment. We actually started without an ICO. That's an initial coin offering, for those who don't know. A group of like 150 people, including actually the Detroit Ledger team, were part of that. We all came together and we built the network based on a technology called EOS IO. And we added a number of governance features, that really helped to decentralize the network. And also we added things like a foundation to guide the network and, do things that in the real world that obviously a blockchain, made of decentralized contributors cannot handle, so things like contracts, getting, a website done, hosting, anything involving contracts, the foundation sort of handles. One of our key features is EVM compatibility, and the other is kind of EOS IO compatibility. So some of the problems that we solve are, so there's not many ESG blockchains out there, like where they cover the environmental, social, and governance concerns. For instance, Ethereum and Bitcoin use a tremendous amount of energy, which makes them really not environmentally conscious, as they're not energy efficient. There's also kind of a lack of distributed work involved, so that sort of covers the social area. We sort of pride ourselves on being quite distributed across the world and really providing ways to earn money for people basically in any country. We're totally open in terms of becoming a block producer and earning an income via that mechanism. Also, crypto user experience is generally quite poor, and that's because it's generally high fees, on networks like Ethereum, even some other networks, the fees are in the several dollars, and we really like to improve that experience. Next slide. So it's a little bit of a weird interface. Telos is the answer. Obviously, we've got the ESG angle. If you don't know about ESG, it's sort of like a standard out there for how companies should operate. And we provide a lot of the tooling for that. We have a lot of, for instance, governance tooling as well, which allow people to form things like DAOs. And basically, you can control money through multiple people, via what's called a multi-sig. You can handle all sorts of different voting and governance around building either what's called a DAO or even governing a regular startup or normal entity. And so this gives a lot of confidence to, for instance, investors in your project. One of the other things that we add is no front running and obviously low fees, which I already covered. But no front running is a big deal in crypto. which actually I think I have a slide, and so I'll talk about that a bit more later. So yeah, we've got hundreds of projects on our network, hundreds on Telos native, and we have more recently introduced the Telos EVM, which is Ethereum virtual machine. And that has about 10 or 12 projects at the moment. Next slide. So yeah, one of our goals is to build and support real world applications. And that's part of partially by having low fees and super fast transactions. That makes it a more capable blockchain, essentially. A more capable blockchain, essentially, for real world applications where, you know, people, for instance, want to interact with an application as fast as, you know, a regular website. So with our half-second block times, it sort of allows people to do things effortlessly, basically. And the low fees, people don't really want to think about the cost of a transaction. Yeah, I think I covered a little bit on Telos EVM, but essentially it allows you to run Ethereum smart contracts on our network. For those who don't know, Ethereum is the most popular sort of blockchain technology out there. Most of the smart contracts in the world are built using Solidity, which is the native language that Ethereum uses. So adding compatibility is a sort of an important thing. It also opens up, there's a tremendous amount of open source software out there in the Ethereum ecosystem. And so a lot of people tend to basically take projects like Uniswap and PancakeSwap and deploy that on a much faster blockchain like Telos. So yeah, actually the progress of Telos EVM is quite impressive at the moment. Within like 2 or 3 months, we've already started onboarding a number of projects, and it's actually set to overtake our C++ based platform, which we began with. So yeah, one of the key, I guess, additions to the Telos network is having a Telos Foundation. Basically, you know, there's a number of blockchain networks out there. Obviously, Bitcoin's a good example. They sort of have a foundation, but you know, they really, you know, don't really have a super active foundation. But by having a foundation like we do have, it just allows us to sort of help develop the ecosystem, to provide a central point of communication for the world, basically, to get to understand Telos. Yeah, we're located all around the globe, primarily US at the moment. We've got someone in SF, someone in New York and Detroit within the US. But we do have some other people, you know, located around the world. Here's a quick comparison to some of our competitors. So we've got fixed gas price, which basically means you always pay the same price for a transaction every single time. That actually, the way other networks work, such as Ethereum, is it's sort of a bidding model where the more you pay in gas, the sooner you get your transaction into the ledger, and or rather goes into the mempool before it hits the ledger. But either way, it sort of not only is a bad user experience because you have fluctuating fees, but it enables this like nasty practice called front running, where you're actually able to insert transactions in front of other people's transactions. And basically, if you know someone is doing a large order, say to buy a certain coin, you can actually make a profit by outbidding that person, buying in front of them, and then after that person buys, you sell straight away. It's an interesting dynamic that you can actually do on other blockchains. So yeah, that's one of our key differentiators. We also have the high transaction speed that other blockchains don't have. We're very decentralized with our block producers in terms of we have governance that actually checks and enables us to know if people are legitimately real people. Whilst other networks actually sort of, often the nodes are actually run by the same people. So yeah, another thing is the sub 1 second transaction times, which is really important, especially, you know, people expect that clicky, sticky experience of using a website where you load a page or do a transaction and it happens immediately. And that's what sub 1 second transaction speed does. So here's just a graph showing, our block speeds compared to others. And this is a graph that shows our transactions per second, which is sort of your scalability. How many transactions can you put in the next block? As you can see, it's quite scalable compared to some of the other competition on the market. As I was speaking before about no front running, it's quite a big issue. Like, a lot of people don't even realize that when they're doing a swap, they're losing a bunch of money. But it actually adds up to a significant amount, especially on larger orders. You know, I've made a $3,000 swap on Uniswap, and someone's front run me, and basically they were able to capture like $500 that I would have otherwise had myself. And this really adds up. I mean, $280 million a month are stolen via front running. So yeah, our larger vision is like, basically we're building a borderless economy. People can build their decentralized application on our network, whether on Telos native or Telos EVM. And so we're building like a sort of a community of different businesses and apps who, you know, are running DAOs and swap protocols and bridges and games and metaverse applications, and so all sorts of different things. It's sort of like a metaverse in its own right, and then part of a broader metaverse, which is like crypto. So yeah, getting onto Telos Build, we currently have a program called Telos Works, which has been around for probably the last 3 years since we started. And essentially, it's a great program, Telos Works. It's decentralized. It allows people to propose work to do for the Telos network. And the positives of how it works is it allows anyone to vote and decide, you know, if a project gets done or not. But so the thing about Telos is it's a delegated proof of stake network. That basically means everyone votes on things. They use their tokens to vote for what happens next with the network, or for instance with Telos Works, what should be done next. So the benefits of that are that it's, you know, fantastic to have everyone voting on something, but the negatives of it are that, you know, it can be hard to judge what should be built next. There's no prioritization if people can just propose anything and it doesn't go through any processes for prioritization. And yeah, there's all sorts of different issues around that. But basically, we're looking to add an addition to the worker proposal system, which is called Telos Build. It's an RFP system. If anyone's aware of that term, it's request for proposal. It has a few more checks and balances. It'll be funded by Telos Works still. And essentially, one of the huge advantages of an RFP is that once it's decided that a project should be done, say that project is to build a new block explorer for the network. So the community can help to decide if that is the next project to be done at some point. And then once we put that into the system, then people can actually put their proposal up against other competitors. So that's one big flaw of the old system, is usually the person putting up the proposal would be the same person doing the work. But in an RFP system, once it's decided that a piece of work should be done, multiple competitors can, you know, compete for that same work. So you get the not only the best price, because sometimes you won't choose based on price, but more importantly, you get the best outcome, the best combination of price and quality, essentially. So this is really going to open up Telos, which currently, a lot of the projects are run through the Telos core developers team and also the foundation. This really allows us to decentralize a lot of the work, so anyone can come in and compete for that work. Obviously, there's still cases where it's better for these centralized entities to take care of the work. But then there are certain things where it's better to put it out and have a competitive situation sort of solve that problem. So I'll hand it over to Adam, and he'll go through a little bit more on the process of how it works, and by showing some of the UI screens. Whenever you're ready, Adam.
Need Jerry to load up those videos for me real quick. Nice job, Justin. So we lost a little bit of video quality, so it may be hard to see if you want to gather around if you're in the back and try to move out of the way. But what you're looking at now is, whoa, that's a close one. What you're looking at now, though, is the admin actually going on and assigning project managers. So right now, the Telos core development team has, I believe, one project manager, but they're bringing on some others. So this is a system that's going to allow each of the project managers to manage a number of different projects, and we're going to see how that looks like here in a second. I do want to give a quick shout out to our team members as well, to Karini and Elton, who were the primary leads on this project. They did a really nice job. Two of our awesome Brazilian team members. So give them all a round of applause too, because they make my job really easy, actually. And so this next one is going to be creating the project. So this is a project manager going in, actually saying, hey, we want to do this project. And in a scenario, it could be, hey, we want you to build the new Telos Build, right? Like this actual project could have been something that went through Telos Build had it been open. There's also an arbitration platform that we're building right now. That would be another excellent candidate to go through this and either have the project as a whole run through it or piece it out piece by piece and have people bid on doing certain parts of the project. And so what you're seeing when those pop-ups come up is somebody actually signing the transaction. So, anytime you see that, that's actually communicating with the blockchain in real time. It's not like how with Bitcoin and Ethereum, you might put a transaction in and then you're waiting around for 30 minutes for, the action to actually reflect on your UI. This is all happening in fairly real time, right? Under half a second a piece, right? All these transactions. And so I think what he's showing you now actually was you could go back and edit it if you wanted to. So there's a draft function, and now he's publishing that project as a project manager. And by publishing that project, he's saying, okay, we want people to come in and we want people to submit projects to go to a vote. We've done a little bit. One of the big differences here with this between Telos Build and Telos Works is that we've actually done a little bit to gamify it. So there's a whole voting period when somebody goes on, submits their actual proposal to do the work. There's a voting period where the top X number, the project manager can set it, but the top, let's say 3 projects in terms of votes will actually get rewarded a certain amount of Telos just for being a top vote getter. So it's pretty cool. We try to reward them. We expect that to be around, about $1,000 USD per winner. So it's pretty cool that you can get paid even though, you might not win. And so what they're going on here is they're going through and actually acting as a user now. So this is submitting your proposal. Let's say we're Detroit Ledger Technologies and we want to bid on some work. This is that interface where you can type in your project description. We also include links for the Kanban board, and a Kanban board is just a project management board, so that community members can see that work's actually being done, tickets are being moved, right? They can go in and check on what's going on if they want to. There's nothing really sensitive, or there shouldn't be anything sensitive that people are storing on those Kanban boards. We also have a GitHub link too, so the work's going to go directly to the Telos Foundation or the Telos.net GitHub. So they're going to own that work as it gets done. In case it happens to not get done, they can pass it off to another person or another team to complete. And so that was the finish of submitting a proposal. You can see there at the bottom, there's actually what he did was he submitted a CSV that had like milestones or a timeline on it. So the team is actually setting those milestones themselves. And then that's when they get paid out, is at the end of their self-set milestones. The Telos Foundation will, or the Telos Core Development team will disperse those funds to the project teams in real time. So you don't have to like wait until the end of the project, the 3-month project, to get paid any money. So it's really great for small teams who don't have necessarily the cash flow the larger teams do. So now he's back to acting as the admin, and there is, I believe, a slight bug here where it says that it didn't work. This is a video. Oh, no, it must be the next one. But he basically just said, let's start the voting period. So now I believe he set it to 14 days. There's a 14-day voting period where the rest of the Telos community come on, look at the proposals, evaluate them, and vote on them. If you win the popular vote, that doesn't mean you get the project, because somebody could win the popular vote and then want to charge 3x market rate. And that doesn't necessarily work out very well, right? But it's not always the cheapest one that wins either. The Telos Core Development team, the Telos Foundation, they're going to have what's called the Telos Build Committee, and they're going to vote on which project wins based on kind of their budget or constraints and things like that. And so right now, he is acting as a user who is going on to vote for his favorite proposal. So he goes there and he clicks proposal 1 and votes. And I think this may be the one. Nope, that one worked too. Well, you'll know when it happens. But as you can see, the votes are now reflected as 40. And that's because it's stake-weighted voting. That's typically delegated proof of stake. It doesn't have to be that way, but the more tokens that you have, the more weight that you have. That can be actually changed fairly easily as well, too. If it doesn't work out, we can do one account, one vote, that sort of thing. It's really nice, as Justin was mentioning. Telos has a pretty robust governance engine called Telos Decide, and they actually have like 5 or 6 different voting styles that are out of the box you can implement into the applications that you build on Telos. So they did a really nice job putting that together, and EOS Detroit DLT has used that platform for a number of, or that code base for a number of different platforms already that we built even on different networks. So really nice open source software that they've put out and given to the community. And so what you're seeing here is actually the program manager going on and choosing which proposals win. He's signing a transaction off screen right now. Yep, that's the one that failed. So there's a little bit of bug when he was doing this, but he can go on and choose those proposals that win and get awarded those the Telos prize for the popular vote. And consequentially, he picked the winner because there was only it was only set to 1. And now you're looking at the winning proposal and the milestones. So the milestones are all broken out separately. They kind of list, descriptions and how long the actual milestone is. You can see 14 days, 28. They can set what they believe is right. So really making sure that the projects are well scoped before they even hit this platform. And so what you're seeing here is you're back on the actual user side of it, the team that submitted the proposal. They're going in, and for each milestone, they're actually submitting a report, which can be a PDF or take the form of a video or something like that. But it submits it so there's some sort of on-chain proof that work is being done in a timely manner. Because anybody can go move tickets around on a board, right? There's just an extra check. And also the program managers will be checking in periodically with set meetings for those teams as well too. So really what we're trying to stress here is transparency and accountability into using community funds, right? This all gets funded, for those who aren't super familiar with most EOS IO chains. Block producers and a number of different entities, depending on the chain, get funded via inflation. So there's anywhere between 1% to, I believe, EOS itself is now up closer to 3%. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but they kind of changed it. There's an annual inflation that each time a block's created, some of that goes into these various pools. And in this case, it's Telos Works or Telos Build. And that's pretty much it. Right now, the only thing that you're not seeing that we really want to have implemented in phase 2, this was kind of the phase 1 MVP, because we don't want to build out a huge platform and then nobody ever uses it, right? What we really want to have is automatic payments for the milestones. So right now, because we're kind of managing the money by taking original Telos Works fund, putting it into a separate account, for an actual human to just manage those payments right now. We want to make that automatic once we know that there's going to be a consistent funding source for Telos Build to fund other projects. And then also we really want to build out a feature request section. So if you think about like a traditional SaaS platform like Salesforce or something like that, they always have this portal where users can go on and request features and maybe upvote or downvote them or what have you, right? We actually want to build that on chain and then use that as the pool to source these kind of project ideas or what should go next. Right now, typically, as Justin kind of mentioned, we're just kind of getting random community members coming on and publishing pretty much for-profit projects that aren't providing a lot of value back to the Telos network. We actually want to encourage people to post their feature requests instead of in Discord or Telegram where they get lost or whatever, right? Like people come up with great ideas all the time, but there's no real way to measure the sentiment of those ideas other than just trying to monitor those channels and kind of make sense of it as somebody in the TF or the TCD. So we're trying to bring transparency and bring some sense to the chaotic madness that can be working in the cryptocurrency industry. So that's pretty much it. So we're really excited to roll this platform out. It's on testnet right now. We're just working through the last couple of bugs pretty much. We should have this out in mid-April. It's looking like. So, this is pretty much all built, and we're really excited to release it to the world. And thank you for your time. We'll bring Justin back up here for maybe a Q&A if anybody has it. I know there's some people online watching, but Justin, if you want to come up here. Can somebody grab him a chair over there maybe? We can kind of share this. Cool, we can share this mic. It's just readjust it so it doesn't tip over. If you want to come up over here. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm good. I'm good.
I was just for the room, I was going to ask you to define what a DAO is in case someone in the room or on the stream isn't familiar with the term.
Yes,
I've used it a few times.
Yeah, you're
Thanks.
probably the best person to describe it, but I'm good. Yeah, a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. You could pretty much think of any of these crypto entities, including Bitcoin, as a DAO, in that, it's a group. The blockchain of Bitcoin is run by people who are totally dispersed and unrelated, and it's totally open and permissionless. People can just go in and run Bitcoin, ASICs, and the network just works. You know, there's code there, and they all need to run it, but it all sort of works itself out. And Telos itself is a DAO, as a number of other networks. Just in that nature of being totally open, transparent, and anyone can get involved and even get a revenue source from that. Good question. Any other questions?
We had a question from our virtual audience. They are asking, what are the average project sizes?
Well, that's sort of totally dependent. Is there a minimum to start?
I know that Telos Decide has a very low minimum that I think is around 1,000, but you know, I can give you an example of what we built for this one. Essentially, it was around like 42,000-ish. So like, they're real development projects. It's not just like, oh, you're getting some tokens that aren't worth anything. I mean, Telos is worth like 80 cents right now, roughly. So and there's, you know, probably a few million in that account Telos. So there's definitely funding available. DLP early on, we built our business off of doing these types of projects, whether it was on Telos or other networks, right, that we support. So we literally, as a business, created our initial team and kind of our initial launch platform off of pulling magic money out of the internet is kind of the expression that we use. It's not magic, right? We can go into the whole reason why it's not, but we'll save that for maybe a different meetup or for beers afterwards, right? So.
Yeah, good answer. Yeah, I'd say probably, I think initially we'll probably see projects between like $10,000 and $100,000. And that's just my guess. I think it will be around that range. Before I forget, I should thank Richard Downing, who actually worked on the, I guess, the research and development for this program. And then he sort of handed it off to the Detroit team, who's doing an awesome job on the actual build. Yeah, do we have any other questions?
Also, one other shout out to Chris Barnes, who also on the Telos Foundation, but did an enormous amount of work just wrangling everybody's ideas and putting it into a flow chart. That kind of work is really undervalued. But Phil, you want to come up and ask a question? Sure.
Hi, I was just wondering how quick is the turnaround expected to actually get the funding once you apply?
Yeah, so actually the really cool thing about it is the program manager can set a variable timeline for like voting. So, you know, they could essentially put up a request for proposal, say, you know, we want to have 2 weeks to let people submit proposals, and then we'll do a 7-day voting period or whatever, right? So I would say the average is probably in between 2 to 4 weeks. Right now on the original Telos Works, it's a month pretty much. So you have to wait quite a long time, and it's set at a month. There's no like leeway, right? It's very rigid system.
One of the great things about this system is that it could not only be it can not only be used for, say, doing work that helps the Telos system directly, but it can also be used for something like a bounty. So say the network really wants to see a metaverse application being built or a game. We can have that put up as an RFP and get competitive teams basically competing to be that metaverse. So it's a good way for, say, the Telos Foundation business development team to incentivize certain types of applications to be built on the network.
Cool. And one other kind of comment on a personal side, on a more real world side, I would say, is that this kind of system eventually could be implemented for things like local government, right? Right now you have a lot of, I mean, they all for the most part use RFP systems, but it's not very transparent, right? It's in a very like closed governmental, like we're just going to hide all these proposals, and you have to freedom of information request to actually find out any of this information, which is costly and unless you're a journalist or a media company, right, and time consuming. So, you know, in the future, local governments could use a system like this to actually make the RFP process transparent. Some of them might not like that, but we should, as voters in the real world, push them into systems like this, demand systems like this. This is what blockchain is about, philosophically, in my opinion. It's, you know, investing and speculating in it is one thing, right? But the real meat and potatoes is this kind of stuff.
Hey again, I just wanted to say thanks for coming and giving a talk, you guys. Thanks, Jerry, for manning the AV, April and Marseille for organizing. We have a really awesome team and everyone rallies together, so I really appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks, Rob.
Wouldn't be here without you, buddy.
Cool.
Cool. Well, that pretty much concludes what we have, unless there's any other questions over here. I think we're gonna clean up for a second and maybe head over to Detroit Beer Company around the corner. There's a weekly, and in case anybody's ever interested outside of just today, they do a weekly meetup there at around 8 o'clock. Lots of good conversations. Unfortunately, the professor, Nate Talbot, will not be there. He's also one of my business partners, helped start the Detroit Blockchain Center, which is the nonprofit arm here in the city. So he's a great person to know as well. So I'd really encourage you all to keep coming down.
Thanks, everyone. If you're interested in learning more about Telos, just go to telos.net. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you all for coming tonight. We really encourage you to like us on our social media pages and just continue the conversation. We're always willing to chat with you. And these are every last Wednesday of the month for the most part. So just stay in touch with us. And I think Justin's going to hang around for a couple minutes in case you want to have some one-on-one conversation with him. Okay, great. Thank you. See you next time.